Okay, so we're back, and now we're gonna start getting really itchy. We're gonna start with ear mites, obviously, and I know you've got one giant picture on one side and then a little picture on the other, and there's a reason for that. And that is because these two mites, even though they look similar, they're different species. They actually affect different species, and they've got one little subtle feature that's different, and that is the suckers on the ends of their legs. The one on the left here that's sort of sideways, that is Otodectes. And Otodectes will affect dogs, cats, and ferrets for some random reason. When you're looking at them under the microscope after you've sort of taken your swab and looked at it, you'll see those types of suckers. If it's a rabbit, you're going to see a different type. And you will see Parasites, which is this big guy on the right. So when you look at these, you can notice that these are a little more rounded, a little deeper of a suction cup than this one here on the right. It looks a little flatter. And if I was drawing these, this is how I would draw them. So this one here would be Parasites, and then this one here would be Otodectes. One's more like a wine glass, the other one's more like a martini glass. And that makes it harder to see. The nice part is, Parasites is the rabbit ear mite, so you're not going to see it in dogs and cats. Rabbits with ear mites are incredibly sad. They get these huge crusts up in their ears. They're very, very itchy. Ear mites in general produce a lot of debris in the ear. In dogs and cats, they will actually produce huge amounts of what looks like coffee grounds. And that's the filth and the schmutz and crud that they live in. Looking at them under an otoscope with a magnifying glass, you can see them actually crawling around in there. If you take them out with a swab and put them under a microscope, this is essentially what you're going to see, what you got on your screen. So when you're looking at mites and they've got these long suckers, or these long legs, look at the suckers at the end, and if he's drinking wine, it's probably Otodectes. Either way, no matter what species it is, you're just going to see a lot of head shaking, a lot of scratching. There might be hair loss around the ears because of it. You might also see cats, especially because their ear flaps are so thin. They will scratch the holes in the back of their ears because it's so itchy. Apparently, one guy many moons ago decided to put an ear mite in his own ear. I am not that much of a geek. And he said you could actually hear them crawling around. But not my thing. Treating them is pretty easy. You've got products like Revolution, do a couple of doses, I think a month apart, and it looks after it. There's also specific medications that you can get to treat them basically from the inside out. But they're pretty easy to treat. You just got to make sure you keep on top of cleaning the ears and getting that debris out of there as the ear mites themselves die. Okay, Demodex. And I'm going to go away so you can see all the pictures. So Demodex is kind of cool in that they're perfectly shaped for where they live. And where they live is the hair follicle. So they have to squeeze down alongside this hair shaft to live in that follicle. So they are this long, sort of cigar-shaped mite with all their legs at one end. And they're normally occurring on the skin. So usually the immune system keeps them in check. They live in the hair follicles. He's happy, we're happy, no problem. If the dog, again, this is usually dogs, if the dog is immunocompromised, maybe it's a puppy and its immune system isn't mature enough yet. If it's an adult dog that's got some sort of issue with its immune system, you'll see Demodex flare up. And you'll see hair loss, could be kind of all over or in specific areas, so it might look kind of patchy. There'll be rashes, scabs, and it's really, really itchy because these guys are just kind of living and wandering around down in there. When you look at them under the microscope, this is what you'll see, these two pictures here. So this one's a nice little close-up. You can get a good look at his legs. This one here I actually chose because it's got eggs. And Demodex eggs are so cool. They look like pregnant bananas. So it kind of matches with the shape of the Demodex themselves. You've got these cigar-shaped ones. There's a young one here. There's an adult one here. And then you've got these two Demodex eggs. So they're a problem. These guys are tougher to treat. Usually you need a product like moxidectin, so that'd be Advantage Multi. We used to use ivermectin injection, not oral. For some reason, ivermectin oral does not work, but an injection can. But they're kind of a tough one to get rid of. So it's a hard one, and hopefully, usually if you've got Demodex issues, they're going to have them lifelong. So it's frustrating, but it's something to deal with. Okay, more itchiness on the way. Next one, Sarcoptes. And this guy is not like Demodex. He's not long and thin and slender. He's short and fat and stubby. So he looks like a dinner plate with legs. And under here, you can just barely see it. There's 4 more legs on the back end as well. And what these guys do is they burrow into the dermis. So think back to domestic animal science. You can remember that cross-section of skin. You had this little strip of epidermis on top. You had the big thick dermis that has the blood vessels and the hair follicles and the sebaceous glands, and then you had that hypodermis underneath. So Demodex lives deeper because they're going all the way down into the hair shaft. Sarcoptes is just in that epidermis. But when they do, they burrow in and they drop their eggs in there and they live in there, and everybody's happy except for the host. People can get this. This one is zoonotic, so it's Sarcoptes scabiei. In human medicine, they call it scabies. And when you look, you'll actually see like the tracks and the scabs and everything where people have been scratching, because this is a really itchy thing. These guys can be a little bit easier to treat. Again, usually ivermectin or like a moxidectin, that sort of thing. But they're really itchy, and because of that scratching, you get hair loss, and then of course you got rashes and scabs to go with it. So clinical signs themselves aren't much. It's usually because of the scratching that they cause, because this is incredibly itchy and I have mites burrowing into your skin. You're welcome for that. Okay, whoop. So what do? What are we gonna do when we've got all these parasites going on? And we've got options. If we've got ectoparasites, we have got some products to deal with. So we've got Advantage, and be careful with Advantage. This packaging is probably a little older by now, but there's Advantage 2, which can be used on cats as well as dogs. And then there's Canine Advantix 2. Notice the canine, notice the X, notice the do not use on cats on the box. The products between Advantage and Advantix are very different. Canine Advantix is lethal to cats, which is why you can't use it on them. Not even a drop. It will kill the cat. It causes seizures and death, so don't do that. There's also now a lot of chewables out there, chewables and tablets that you give once a month to prevent fleas and ticks. So that's where we have things like Comfortis, Simparica, and then of course there's the classic fight between NexGard and Bravecto. They're basically a very similar medication, same families, but NexGard you give on a monthly basis, Bravecto you give every 3 months. Guess which one people usually prefer. So all of these will do ectoparasites. None of them do anything with endoparasites. So you're not killing any worms here. All you're dealing with is bugs. If you want to deal with endoparasites, your worms, then you have to deal with these. So we've got Interceptor, which is milbemycin. That will do roundworms, whipworms, hookworms, and heartworm. You've got Drontal Plus. That has a couple of different medications in it, so that it will do roundworms, whipworms, hookworms, and I believe it's also got praziquantel in it, so it will cover tapeworms. And then you've got Milbemax and Profender for cats. Milbemax essentially is like Interceptor for cats. It's got a very similar product in it. They both have milbemycin. And then Profender, if your cats won't take a pill very well, Profender is a topical. So it's nice that way. And it will do roundworms and hookworms as well as tapeworms. Droncit, very, very specific. The only product that we have out there readily available to kill tapeworms is praziquantel, and that's what's in Droncit. Praziquantel gets put into a lot of different things so that it will kill tapeworms and they can use them on them. But if you want just Praziquantel, Dronset's it. Now, in a perfect world, it'd be awesome if we could combine some of these medications with some of these medications. And because drug companies are not stupid and they like to make money, that's exactly what they do. So we have things like Revolution. And Revolution is nice. It's a topical. It will do fleas, heartworms, roundworms, hookworms, and cats, as well as ear mites. And it's a once a month. You've got Revolution Plus now, because the tick effect on regular Revolution wasn't that great. Now they've added another product to Revolution, called it Plus, and it's much better at killing ticks. So you still give that monthly. So those two are topicals. You don't have to worry about getting a pill down your cat. And then we've got things that are tried and true, like Sentinel. What they did was they took a flea medication, added it to Interceptor, bam, you got Sentinel. Advantage Multi, same idea. They took a internal parasite medication, added it to Advantage, boom, now you can do fleas as well as hookworms, roundworms, whipworms, and heartworm. So it's a really nice one as well. Some of the new ones that are out there, Simparica Trio, it's now a triple medication, so it's got ones that will do heartworm, roundworms, whipworms, hookworms, fleas, ticks, it does all kinds. Trifexis, they basically took Comfortis, added milbemycin to it, and now you've got Trifexis. Milbemycin is the same product that's an Interceptor. And then you've got NexGard Spectra. And NexGard Spectra is kind of the hot new medication. It's my personal favorite right now. It's a chewable, it's once a month, and it's got a really good effect against fleas and ticks, but because it's also got milbemycin in it, it does roundworms, whipworms, hookworms, and heartworm. So it's really nice that way. It's a great medication. So all of these I've gone through very quickly, but I'm going to put a reference chart up for you from the Ontario Animal Health Network. It's an anti-parasitic chart. It has got way more medications on it than what you need to know. So, on the next slide, there we are. Haha, and I'm back. So, what you're going to do with that chart is I'm going to post it up and I'm going to box in some of the medications. I don't want you to do this for all the medications, just the ones in the red boxes. I want you to make a similar style chart of those medications with what they would contain. So when you look at it, let's see if I can do this, and I'll show you an example in a minute. When you look at it, you will end up seeing all the brand names of the medication, and then across the top, the parasites that it covers. And what I would like you to do is make a similar chart with all the brands of the medication, but then what drugs are actually in them. So that's going to be kind of your study chart between those two things to know what these products are. Remember, I only want you to do the ones that are in the red boxes. As far as reading, again, that textbook that's available on DC Connect, I want you to go through and read the pages in that are specified here. That's our prep for next week. So give me one moment and I'm just going to bring that other chart back up for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Bam! Here's your chart. So what you've got is the brand names down the left, the parasites along the top, and then depending on whether or not it's the face of a dog, or if I scroll down a bit here, the face of a cat, it tells you what species it covers. If they're both in there, both species it covers. So what I want you to do is create a similar chart with the brand names down the left and the medications, the actual medication that's in it. So is it milbemycin, pyrantel, praziquantel, what's in it? So put that across the top and then create your chart like that. I will create a folder on DC Connect that you can upload for me to check it for you. It won't be for marks, but it will be a study tool for yourself. So if you've got any questions, use the questions for the prof area on DC Connect, and I will answer them that way. Otherwise, look for that folder and good luck. Thanks, guys.